is the gold? This is not what was supposed to be in here. Somebody help me! Somebody help me! What did I do?
To understand what Chioma did to end up here, we have to go back to the beginning.
The village of Ugula sat between two hills like a sleeping child nestled between its mother's knees. Around it, the forest stood tall and ancient, its trees older than any elder's memory. Farmland stretched in every direction, yam mounds rising from the red earth in long, careful rows. And in the mornings, the smell of wood smoke and wet soil drifted through every compound like a quiet blessing. It was here that Okoro, the farmer, lived, a man whose laugh could be heard 3 huts away. He had one daughter, Adaize, whom he called his Ochicho, his treasure. Adaize had her mother's eyes, dark, wide, and warm as embers. Her mother had died when she was only 4, taken by a fever that came in the night and did not leave. But Okoro raised Adaize with both hands and a full heart, and she grew into a girl who greeted every elder by name, who shared her yam without being asked, and who hummed while she swept, as though the broom itself enjoyed the work. Then, when Adaize was 12, Okoro came home one evening with a woman walking beside him.
Adaize, come out and greet your new mother. Come, do not be shy.
Adaize stepped forward slowly. The woman was tall, with a wrapper tied firmly at her chest and a smile arranged carefully on her face like a mat laid out for a guest.
My dear, I have heard so much about you. Your father tells me you have the heart of your mother. Come, let me hold you.
Her name was Eneka, and she came from a village 2 days' walk east, with her daughter Chioma trailing behind her, already looking at Adaize's sleeping corner with calculating eyes. Adaize allowed herself to be embraced. The woman's arms were firm, not soft, but she told herself that love could be learned, and she decided that night to be patient. For a season, Eneka was everything a man could hope for in a wife. She cooked pepper soup that made Okoro close his eyes with pleasure. She braided Adaize's hair on market days and called her Mwami, my child, in front of the neighbors. One afternoon, she returned from the market and held out a bright new wrapper.
This is for you, Adaize. A girl as beautiful as you should not wear faded cloth. Take it, you deserve it, my daughter.
Thank you, Mama. It is very beautiful.
Anything for my child.
She said it warmly, with Okoro standing right there in the doorway. He smiled wide and nodded, satisfied. The village women nodded approvingly too. Okoro has found a good woman. That man's cheese kind to him. But Adaize noticed things. She noticed how Eneka's smile never quite reached her eyes when Okoro was not in the room. She noticed how Chioma always received the bigger portion of fish without anyone saying a word. She noticed how when she made a small mistake, spilling water or forgetting to sweep behind the cooking pot, Eneka's voice dropped to something low and sharp, like a blade wrapped in cloth.
You must be more careful, Adaize. A careless girl makes a poor woman. Do you want people to say I did not train you well?
No, Mama. I am sorry, Mama.
Then do better.
And Adaize would nod and say nothing more. She had learned early that silence was sometimes the wisest answer. Then the rains came heavy that year, and Okoro's chest began to trouble him. He coughed through the night and grew thin through the days. The village medicine man visited, shook his head slowly, and left herbs that helped less and less with each passing week. Adaize sat beside her father's mat every evening, fanning him gently and telling him about the farm, about the neighbors, about the small things that made up a day. One night, he reached out and took her hand.
Adaize, my Ochicho, you look more like your mother every day. Did you know that?
You always say that, Papa.
Because it is always true.
He was quiet for a moment. Then his voice fell low and serious.
Promise me something. Promise me you will be good, no matter what comes after me. Do not let bitterness a locked room. Nothing good can enter it.
Papa, you are not going anywhere.
Promise me, Adaize.
I promise, Papa.
The heart that stays soft is the heart that God feels.
He closed his eyes then, and the hut was very quiet except for the sound of the night wind moving through the eaves. He did not open them again. Okoro was buried on a Tuesday, beneath the shade of the old ogbu tree at the edge of the compound. The village wept. The women gathered and sang the song of going. Na anyị aga, oga ya lonhachi, ma ọ na-echeghị anyị no ọchịchọ ya. Our father goes, I will not return, but he does not forget us. We are his treasure. Adaize stood very still throughout, her hands clasped, her face dry. She had cried the night before, alone, so that she could stand straight in the morning. Nneka wept loudly into her wrapper. The women gathered her, called her strong, called her faithful. But that same evening, the very night they buried Okoro, Nneka set down her morning clothes, walked into the kitchen and held out a broom. Adaize,
The compound is dirty. Sweep it before you sleep.
Tonight, Mama, Papa was only just...
Did I ask you when your father was buried? I said sweep the compound, Adaeze. Must I say everything twice?
Yes, Mama, I heard you.
She took the broom. She swept the compound in the dark, under a sky full of stars that looked down and said nothing. But somewhere in the trees, a night bird called out once, long and low, as though it had witnessed everything and was keeping record. That was the night Adaize understood. The smile had always hidden thorns. She simply had not known until now how sharp they were. The weeks that followed Okoro's burial were long and grey, like cloth left out in the harmattan, dull, stiff and stripped of warmth. Nneka wasted no time revealing the life she had planned for Adaize. Before the first cock crowed each morning, while the village still slept beneath its blanket of mist, Adaize was already awake. There was water to fetch from the stream at the bottom of the hill, a journey of nearly an hour each way with a clay pot balanced on her head. There was firewood to gather from the deep end of the forest where the trees grew close together and the light barely reached the ground. There was the farm to tend under the full eye of the afternoon sun, the cooking, the cleaning, the sweeping, an endless river of work that never ran dry. Chioma, meanwhile, woke up late, ate first, and spent her afternoons plaiting her hair or chatting with girls from the neighboring compound. One morning, Adaize returned from the stream with water sloshing at the brim of her pot, her neck aching and her feet muddy to the ankle. She set the pot down carefully and moved toward the kitchen to start the fire.
What took you so long? The sun is already up and there is no fire. Are you a visitor in this house, Adaize? Do you expect me to clap for you because you carried water?
I am sorry, Mama. The stream was crowded this morning. I came as fast as I could.
Then wake up earlier. A lazy girl has no future. Now start that fire before I lose my patience.
Adaize said nothing. She knelt and began to arrange the firewood.
From the doorway, Chioma watched and picked her teeth with a long fingernail, unbothered as a goat in the shade. It was on a dry Thursday morning, 3 months after Okoro's passing, that Nneka called Adaize to sit before her in the main room. Her voice was different that morning, smooth and rehearsed, like a speech she had practiced in the dark.
Adaize, sit down. I want to talk to you about your future.
Adaize sat, folding her hands in her lap.
You are a big girl now. Your father is gone, God rest him, and things are not easy for this family. I have been thinking, there is a woman I know in the village of Amaudo, not far from here. She is old and lives alone and needs someone to help her with her compound. It is good, honest work. You will learn. You will grow, and whatever she pays you, you can send some home to support us.
You are sending me away, Mama?
I am giving you an opportunity. There is nothing shameful about work, Adaize. Or do you want to sit here and be a burden?
I am not afraid of work, Mama. I only want to know, will I come back?
Of course you will come back. This is your home, is it not? Now go and pack your things. You leave tomorrow at first light.
That night, Adaize sat outside under the ogbu tree where her father was buried and pressed her palm flat against the earth.
Papa, I am going. I do not know where exactly or for how long, but I remember what you told me. I will keep my heart soft.
The night wind moved through the leaves above her, gently, like an answer. She left before dawn with a small bundle on her head and her father's old walking stick in her hand. Nneka stood at the compound entrance with her wrapper tied loosely, watching. She did not embrace Adaize. She did not bless her journey. She simply said,
Do not embarrass this family.
And turned back inside. Chioma did not come out at all. The road to Amaudo wound through farmlands first, then thinned into a forest path where the trees leaned over like elders listening to a secret. Birds called from somewhere deep in the leaves. The air smelled of damp earth and something sweetly rotten, fallen fruit perhaps, or the forest simply breathing. Adaize walked for most of the morning. She passed a family of goats picking at the roadside grass. She passed 2 young boys carrying bundles of sugarcane who pointed her in the right direction when she asked. She passed a small roadside shrine decorated with white chalk and dried palm fronds, and she greeted it quietly out of respect, the way her father had taught her. By midday, her feet were sore and her water gourd was nearly empty. She sat beneath an umbrella tree to rest and eat the small parcel of cold yam Neka had packed for her, barely enough for a child, let alone a girl who had walked half a day. She was still eating when she heard a voice.
You there, young one? Where are you going, all alone on this road?
Adaize looked up. Sitting on a low root at the base of a nearby tree was a very old woman, so old that her face had folded into itself like a piece of ancient cloth. She wore a simple white wrapper and carried a walking stick carved from dark wood. Her eyes, however, were startlingly bright, sharp and deep as a well.
Amaudo, And who sent you?
My stepmother, Mama.
The old woman studied her for a long moment, taking in her dusty feet, her thin frame, and the tiredness around her young eyes.
And what is your name, child?
Adaize, Mama.
Adaize, she said it slowly, as though tasting it.
Adaize. It is a good name. A name must be earned, you know, not just given.
She rose from the root with surprising ease and pointed her carved stick down the path.
Come, I will show you the rest of the way.
The old woman's name was Mama Nena, and her hut sat at the quiet edge of Amaudo village like a full stop at the end of a long sentence. It was small and humble, mud walls, a thatched roof patched in 3 places. A small garden grew along one side. Pepper, uziza leaves, garden eggs, and a pawpaw tree heavy with fruit. It was nothing like Adaize had imagined, but something about it felt strangely like rest.
This is where I live. It is not much, but it is honest. I need someone to help me. My bones are old and the compound does not sweep itself. I cannot pay with money, but I will feed you, shelter you, and whatever else comes, well, we shall see.
I am not afraid of work, Mama Nena. I will do whatever you need.
The old woman looked at her again with those deep, bright eyes, and something moved in them. Recognition, perhaps, or satisfaction.
Good. Then rest today. Tomorrow, we begin.
Adaize set her bundle down inside the small room prepared for her. It had a sleeping mat, a folded cloth, and a clay lamp. That was all. But it was hers, and no one would take her broom before she had even caught her breath. She lay down, listened to the forest outside settle into its evening sounds, and for the first time in months, she slept without fear. First morning in Mama Nena's compound, Adaize was up before the old woman stirred. She found a broom leaning against the mud wall outside and began to sweep. Long, careful strokes that moved from the back of the compound forward, the way her own mother had taught her in a memory so distant it felt like a dream. She swept the fallen leaves from beneath the pawpaw tree. She cleared the ash from around the cooking stones. She fetched water from the village stream, which was mercifully close, and set it to warm for Mama Nena's morning wash. When the old woman emerged from her hut, shuffling slowly with her carved stick, she stopped at the entrance and looked around her compound with quiet eyes.
You have already swept.
Yes, Mama. I hope I did not disturb your sleep.
No, I heard you. I simply wanted to see if you would stop when you thought I was not watching.
But the corner of her mouth lifted, just slightly, like the edge of a leaf catching morning light. And so the days took shape, one after another, like beads threaded onto a cord. Adaize swept the compound every morning without being asked. She cooked with patience, tasting and adjusting, never rushing the pot. She tended Mama Nena's small garden with careful hands, loosening the soil around the pepper plants, chasing away the insects that gathered on the uziza leaves, harvesting only what was ready and leaving the rest to grow. On market days, she carried the old woman's goods on her head and walked beside her slowly, matching her pace without complaint. The villagers of Amaudo watched her with curious eyes.
Is that Mama Nena's new helper? Where did she come from? Somewhere past the forest, they say. Came alone, very quiet girl. Mama Nena does not keep just anyone, you know. That old woman has eyes that see through walls.
They were not wrong. Mama Nena watched everything, not with suspicion, but with the deep, patient attention of someone who had lived long enough to know that a person's true character reveals itself not in grand moments, but in small ones, in whether they sweep the corners or only the middle, in whether they stir the pot when no one is looking, in whether they greet the beggar at the roadside or look away as they never looked away. 3 months into her stay, the rains came, and with them, Mama Nena fell ill. It began as a cough, dry and persistent, rattling in the old woman's chest like a stone in a hollow gourd. Then came the fever, burning through her thin frame and leaving her too weak to rise from her mat. Adaze did not hesitate. She boiled neem leaves and eased the steam beneath a cloth over Mama Nena's head. She prepared pepper soup thin enough for a sick stomach, coaxing the old woman to take small sips throughout the day. She sat up through 2 full nights, replacing the cool cloth on Mama Nena's forehead whenever the fever climbed, humming softly in the dark, the same low, wordless song she used to hum while sweeping back home. On the 3rd night, Mama Nena opened her eyes and looked at Adaze sitting beside her in the lamplight.
You have not slept.
I slept a little, Mama.
Do not lie to an old woman, child. My eyes are weak, but my sense is not.
Adaze softly.
I did not want the fever to climb without anyone knowing.
Outside, the rain tapped steadily on the thatched roof.
You remind me of someone I loved very much, a long time ago. She also had that quality, caring for others as though her own comfort was a small and unimportant thing.
Who was she, Mama?
My daughter, she died young.
I am sorry, Mama Nena.
Do not be sorry. Be grateful for every day you are given and for every person who lets you love them. That is not a small thing. Adaze. Most people do not understand that until it is too late.
By the time the rains eased, Mama Nena had recovered. She moved through her compound slowly but steadily. And though she said little about those sick nights, she looked at Adaeze differently afterward, the way you look at something you now understand the full value of. Months continued to pass. The harmattan came, dry and dusty, and Adaeze sealed the gaps in the mud wall so the cold wind would not trouble the old woman's bones. She planted a new row of garden eggs and watched them grow fat and purple. She learned the names of the village elders and greeted each one properly. She taught the children next to her a clapping song she remembered from her own childhood, and their laughter filled the compound on quiet evenings. She did not forget home. She thought of her father's grave beneath the ogbo tree often, and sometimes the thought of Neka's cold face would pass through her mind like a shadow. But she did not dwell in bitterness. She had promised her father, and she intended to keep that promise. It was on a still morning, close to a full year after Adaeze's arrival, that Mama Nena called her inside and asked her to sit. The old woman sat across from her on a low stool, her carved walking stick resting across her knees. Between them on the floor sat a bag, old brown leather, once smooth at the corners, sealed with a carefully knotted cord of red and black thread.
Adaeze, you came to me as a stranger and you became something else entirely. Do you know what you became?
I only did what was right, Mama Nena.
Yes, and that is exactly what most people fail to do. I am not simply an old woman, Adaeze. I think somewhere in your heart you already sense this.
Adaeze said nothing, but her eyes were still and knowing.
I have been watching this road for many, many years. I have seen all kinds pass through. The proud, the cruel, the lazy, the frightened. Very few stop to greet a tired old woman beneath a tree. Very few sweep the corners they think no one can see. Very few sit up through the night for someone who cannot repay them.
She picked up the leather bag and held it out.
This is yours. Do not open it until you reach the forest path between here and Ugwala. You will know the place. There is one more thing I will give you, and it costs nothing.
What is it, Mama?
A proverb. Listen carefully. The ground does not forget the footsteps of those who walked gently upon it.
She rose and walked Adaeze to the edge of the compound. Adaeze knelt, touched the old woman's hand to her forehead in the deepest gesture of respect she knew.
Thank you, Mama Nena, for everything, for the shelter, the food, but most of all for seeing me. Nobody had seen me in a long time.
The old woman's bright eyes softened in a way Adaeze had never seen before.
Go well, my child, and do not look back.
Adaize walked the forest path with her bundle on her back and the leather bag held carefully against her chest. When she reached the place where two ancient trees leaned toward each other like old friends sharing a secret, she stopped. She untied the red and black cord slowly. She opened the bag. The light came first, warm and golden, spilling from the opening like sunrise trapped inside leather. Then she saw them. Gold coins, heavy and bright. Gemstones the color of deep water and evening sky. Strings of coral beads, red as the heart of a fire. And at the very bottom, wrapped in a piece of white cloth, a small gold necklace with a pendant shaped like a bird in flight. She lifted the necklace and held it up to the light filtering through the trees. It smelled, faintly but unmistakably, of her mother's skin. Adaize sat down on the forest floor and wept, not from sorrow, but from the overwhelming, unfamiliar feeling of being finally, fully held by something she could not name. She wept until the feeling settled into something quieter. Then she wiped her face, replaced everything carefully, tied the cord and stood. She picked up her walking stick. She walked home. Adaize entered Ugwala just as the sun began its descent, painting the sky in shades of amber and burnt orange. She walked through the village calmly, her bundle on her back and the leather bag held close to her chest. Word moved through Ugwala the way it always did, faster than feet and louder than drums. By the time she reached her father's compound, a small gathering had already formed at the entrance. Nneka stood at the front of them all, dressed in her good wrapper, her eyes moving from Adaize's face to the leather bag and back again, calculating, measuring, the way a trader sizes up goods before naming a price.
Adaize, you are back. Welcome home, my daughter. We have missed you.
Thank you, Mama Nneka.
She set the leather bag down in the middle of the compound and untied the red and black cord. The gasp that rose from the crowd was one voice made of many. Gold coins caught the fading sunlight and threw it back in every direction. Gemstones glittered, deep blue, forest green, burning red. Coral beads spilled over the lip of the bag like a small waterfall of fire. Nneka said nothing, but her eyes told everything, wide, burning, and already elsewhere, already planning. That night, after the compound had grown quiet, Nneka called Chioma into the back room. Adaize, lying on her mat nearby, could hear the urgent murmur of their voices through the thin mud wall, rising and falling, like water finding a crack. By morning, Nneka had made up her mind. She came to Adaize at breakfast with her rehearsed smile back in place.
This woman, Mama Nena, you say she still needs help?
She's old, Mama. She will always need help.
Good. I was thinking Chioma should go. It would build her character. Mama Nena is not a market, Mama Nneka. She does not give to everyone who comes. I know that. Chioma can try. What is the harm in trying?
Chioma left the next morning, complaining before she had even cleared the compound gate.
Oh, this bundle is so heavy. It's weighing me down already.
Hush now, Chioma. You must learn to carry it. Go on.
But Mama, it's digging into my back.
You will get used to it. Now go!
She arrived at Mama and Nena's compound by midday, sweating and irritable. She swept only the center of the compound, leaving the corners thick with leaves. She rushed the soup and left it bitter. She picked pepper from the garden carelessly, half of them unripe, and shrugged when corrected. They all looked the same to me. I am not a farmer. At night, she refused to fetch water.
Child, go fetch the water from the stream.
No, Grandmother. I won't go. I said no! I'm not going!
In the mornings, she slept past the cock's crew. When Mama and Nena fell into a mild cold, Chioma stood at the doorway, her face arranged in barely concealed annoyance.
Should I not go and call a healer from the village? I do not really know how to care for sick people.
A cup of warm water with ginger would help. The ginger is in the basket by the fireplace.
The fireplace is outside and it is cold.
A long silence followed. Mama and Nena said nothing, but her bright eyes, watching Chioma from the mat, saw everything they needed to see. 3 months in, Not the full year, not even close. Mama and Nena called Chioma inside and gestured for her to sit. Between them, on the floor, sat a bag sealed with a cord of dull grey thread. Chioma's eyes lit up immediately.
Is that for me? It looks heavy. That is a good sign.
Your time here is complete. Do not open it until you are home.
Yes. Thank you, old woman.
She did not kneel. She did not look back.
She did not wait to reach home. Before she had even cleared the forest path, she tore the grey cord open, her fingers clumsy with greed. She reached inside and screamed. She flung the bag away and stumbled backward into the trunk of an old Iroko tree. From the mouth of the bag, fat, pale earthworms writhed in the sudden light. Cockroaches spread outward in every direction. Tiny biting ants poured forth in a furious black river. And from deep within the bag, a smell rose, damp and ancient and deeply unpleasant, like something rotting for a very long time. Chioma slid down the trunk of the Iroko tree and wept. Ugly, heaving sobs that had nothing to do with remorse and everything to do with loss. Not loss of goodness, loss of gold. She returned home empty-handed, tear-streaked and silent. Nneka met her at the compound entrance, her eyes eager and searching, then dying the moment she saw her daughter's hollow face and empty hands.
Where is the bag? Chioma, where is it?
There was no gold, Mama.
What was inside?
Things, crawling things.
The silence that followed was the loudest the compound had heard in years. From across the courtyard, Adaeze looked up from her garden. She met Chioma's eyes briefly, without triumph, without resentment. Then she turned back to her pepper plants and continued her work. That evening, Adaeze sat beneath the Ogbu tree as the sun let go of the sky. She pressed her palm flat against the earth above her father's grave. Adaeze whispered,
I kept my heart soft, Papa. Just like you said.
Night wind moved through the leaves above her. It sounded just slightly like someone who was very pleased.
The heart that stays soft is the heart that God fills.
If you made it to the end of this story, thank you for staying with me. Do us well to hit the subscribe button so you never miss another beautiful tale like this. And right now, there's another lovely story waiting for you on your screen. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.